pray for the well-being of the whole humanity. Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Stapakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharma Swarupine Avatar Varishtaya Ramakrishna Te Namaha. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us bow down to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Well, today's topic which I am going to talk about is spiritual awakening. We must have that awakening, then only it would be possible to realize God. Spiritual awakening is not possible as long as the mind is deeply interested in the worldly activities. Sri Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, after purification of heart, one obtains divine love. Why we are not attracted towards God? Why we are not feeling love towards Him? We don't feel any taste towards spiritual life as such. The reason is the heart is yet to be purified. That is the diagnosis. If a person is not inclined to do devotion, if he is not inclined to do spiritual practices, it only means mind is yet to be purified. So Sri Ramakrishna says again in the Gospel, purification of the mind is foremost. Then comes contemplation of God. Without the purification of the mind, your contemplation of God will not be as effective as it should be. And Sri Ramakrishna gives the example. The mind is like white cloth just returned from the laundry. It takes on the color you dip it in. If you direct the mind towards worldly things, it will be colored by worldliness. If you divert it to spiritual activities, then it becomes spiritual. First you should make the mind spiritual. Then your spiritual life starts. Not till then. So, Sri Ramakrishna again says, do you want to realize God? First purify the mind. That's the answer. So, it is well known, all the spiritual practices which we are undertaking are meant to purify the mind. It is just that. Truth and purity are the true two prime virtues insisted upon in every spiritual discipline. They are the warp and the woof of a noble personality. If you purify your heart, then you do really enjoy the real peace and real happiness. You do enjoy it. You can very definitely distinguish between the spiritual joy and the worldly joy. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter 12, Shuchir Daksha Udasino Gatavyataha Anapekshaha Shuchir Daksha Udasinaha Gatavyataha Sarvarambha Parityagi Yo Mat Bhaktaha Same Priyaha. Who is very dear to me? Lord Krishna says, he who has these qualities, he is dear to me and I am dear to him. What are the qualities? Anapekshaha. He is not dependent externally. That means he is free from all external dependence. Shuchihi, pure. Dakshaha, efficient. Udasinaha, unattached. That means he is not involving in the worldly things. That means he is not bothering. The more involvement means the more bothering is the result. So that is the result of all these worldly entanglements. The more you entangle in the world and things, the more you are to be bothered upon. Then, Gatavyataha, undisturbed. If your mind is in constant agitation, and if it is in the disturbing mode, how can you think of God? How can you have even the glimpse of peace? And then he says, Sarvarambha Parityagi, who has given up all selfish undertakings. Madbhaktaha, he who is devoted to me. That is, if he cultivates these qualities, these virtues in his life, then he would become my devotee. He would be dear to me and I am dear to him. Very nicely, Lord Krishna has said. Well, Most important is that we have to establish certain degree of purity in ourselves. That is very important. With purity, your spiritual life starts. To the extent you are pure, to that extent you can expect very good results in the spiritual life. Probably you have noticed in all the spiritual activities, particularly when you are doing some special ceremony, you are going to temple, offering some special worship and so on. What you would do? First of all, the idea will come, tomorrow I am going to temple. So I have to leave the home at 10 o'clock. That means I must finish my bath, I must clean myself properly, wear fresh clothes, fresh washed clothes, and then go. That means it starts with purity external. You feel a kind of freshness when you take bath, when you change the clothes. You are setting the mind. The implication is that external cleanliness reflects and helps internal purity. You feel a kind of calmness in the mind. Modern science tells us that the beautiful symmetry that a crystal displays is the result of an inner regularity of structure. For instance, a crystal of common salt looks so cute only because the sodium and chloride ions, the building bricks of the salt, are arranged in an interlaced face-centered cubic lattice. Inner regularity expresses itself as outer pattern. When a person is totally restless inside, when he is under great stress and strain, you can see how outwardly also he behaves in a very disoriented way. It's because there is total disharmony inside his heart that expresses outside also. Conversely, to attain inner purity, keep the external clean. Bathing and putting on clean clothes as a prelude to purifying the mind. Generally, when you go to do worship, you especially you especially give attention to these things. So gaining inner purity is indeed the aim of all spiritual disciplines. And you know, mind is so full of dirt and dust. So many dirt has been allowed to accumulate in the mind over the period of many births up to this birth. How many times you have come and gone into this world? In how many types of activities you have engaged yourself? And how many types of samskaras you are creating in the mind? Where do they go? They stay on. Whatever you do, They don't go away, they stay on with you and create all sorts of things. And they become powerful and terribly active. They become so active, these samskaras become so active, they overpower you, they devour you, they just want you to behave as they want to be. That's how you feel the difficulty. Even though you want to do certain good things, you are not allowed to do it because your samskaras are not allowing to do that. So how it is very important to create good samskaras, how it is very important to establish yourself firmly on the noble qualities. So that point is to be clearly understood. Clearly understood. If your home is dirty, you have to clean your home. How can you expect a neighboring man to come and clean your home? Of course, he may come as a volunteer, but it is your responsibility to keep the home always clean. The volunteer may come, may not come, or sometimes you may hire a person to help you. Whatever it be, but you have to take concrete steps in order to maintain the cleanliness of the home. Same way, mind also. Same way you have to deal with the mind. If you are neglect about taking care about the mind, then you have to pay very, very, very heavy price. So, everything is in our hands. The mind is compared to the mirror. The mirror of the mind has to be immaculately clean if it is to reflect the reality as it is. Through the mind only you have to realize God. You can't do it without the mind. You have to meditate using the part of your mind only. You have to control the mind by using a part of your mind. That is, the mind which is helping you, which you want to come with you, that mind is called spiritual mind. You have to strengthen that spiritual mind. It is very important. Even if it is very difficult, you have to do that. Why it has become difficult? Because you are not given attention to strengthen it. So you are feeling difficulty. You have to strengthen your spiritual mind, then you feel inclined to do spiritual activities, then you are inclined to do prayer, worship and meditation, then you are inclined to cherish more and more love towards God. All these things possible only if you strengthen your spiritual mind. The pity is that we keep our minds laden rich with dust and yet complain that reality eludes us. The dust veils and distorts, it gives a fragmented and caricatured image of truth. The result is we suffer. We suffer. We suffer because of the impure mind. The moment mind becomes pure, you are free from suffering. You are free from suffering. So all sadhanas are directed to the wiping clean of the mind mirror. Cheto Darpanamarjanam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one of the great incarnations, says that the cup of our mind is filled with all sorts of rubbish. So what should be done? It must be completely emptied and scoured clean if it is to receive the nectar of God's grace. So, now the subject matter is very clear. In order to get spiritual awakening, the mind should be made clean. The mind should be made pure. And now, how to do it? Now you have understood the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is in your own self. It is because of the dirt of the mind. That's all. So you have to remove the dirt. Herein comes various spiritual practices, various yogas, which deal with this subject. And whatever yoga you may practice, you have to be always aware. You are doing this yoga in order to purify the mind. The moment mind is purified, then God's realization is imminent. You will have tremendous joy and peace. So, the four yogas, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, all these four yogas, they are packed with spiritual disciplines. They are packed. Without disciplines, no yoga. Please remember that. Simply if you call as a karma yogi, doing karma doesn't make you karma yogi. When you call yourself as a yogin, then you have to certainly follow disciplines. So these four yogas are approaches to this basic problem of cleansing of the mind. So, what are these dirt? Of course, to point out some of them: selfishness, hatred, arrogance, all these disturbing, agitating thoughts. So the aspirant gives up all self-centered actions. That means he has to engage himself in some activity, but that activity should be such, it should make him more and more selfless. Even while acting, you feel a kind of peace when it is selfless activity. That's why so I come from Karnataka state, in Bangalore, where I joined the Ramakrishna Mission. There we have a Balak Sangh, that is the children, age group between 10 and 15, between 10 and 15 up to 18 they go. Every day these boys and girls too, they are to come to the ashram. Every day they should come. It is called daily section. So the parents will come and apply the form. They declare that their children would be coming every day. So it is with the consent of the parents the children come. Now the school is over by 5:30, by 5 o'clock. By 5:30, and between 5:30 and 6, the children will be there in the ashram. Up to 7 o'clock or 7:30, sometimes 8 o'clock in the evening, they will be in the ashram. So in the tender age, look at the way how they are put up. They are breathing literally the spiritual vibrations of the place. The intense spiritual vibrations of the place, because regular meditations, regular prayers, regular worship are being done. It's a place of devotees. It's a place where people think of God and do service to God. So when the children are brought up in that atmosphere, naturally, you are giving them an opportunity to maintain their cleanliness of the mind from the formative period, which is very important. Very important. So, what we will do to them, not only we teach them chanting of the mantras and so many things, but we want them to engage them in some activity also. And we would tell them, look, you are coming to ashram, you have to engage yourself in some activity. So we would divide them into different batches, and one batch would go for cleansing the temple. Every day they would sweep the floor of the whole temple area, then they would wipe it with wet cloth. They are not using a vacuum cleaner as we do here. You have to every day broom it. You have to use the broomstick. Well, at least 15-20 boys will be engaged in doing that work. It's a huge area, and it has got a very significant name in Sanskrit, Kainkarya Seva, Kainkarya. In that action, you are just moving around the shrine and the temple premises. What a fine atmosphere. And even in that process of doing things, you feel you are joyful and peaceful. And of course, after this, they have got various classes, and moreover, because they are boys, so we give them little games also. Let them play some games, volleyball, basketball, etc. So that they will become strong physically. Strength is important. Physical strength is responsible for the mental strength, and mental strength is responsible for the intellectual strength. Intellectual strength is responsible for the spiritual strength. How everything is important. How everything is important. That's why Swamiji says, if you have to understand Bhagavad Gita, go and play the football. He doesn't mean simply go on playing football, you will understand Gita. He doesn't mean that way. He means by playing football, you become strong, you become healthy, then you will understand the subtle ideas. That's the idea. Well, that selfless activity, that idea of doing service, that should be cultivated. And when you are having that attitude and do the job and do the work, it becomes karma yoga. Whatever is done for the love of God. He is not expecting any fruit for himself. He is just doing for the love of God. And you must know, God gives you more than what you deserve. But you must always feel you are an instrument in the Lord's hands. Your role is to do the work entrusted to you as perfectly as possible. That means when you are doing the work, you have to be alert, not negligent, not careless, not doing the work and thinking something else. No. Doing the work concentratedly itself purifies the mind. To that extent, mind is not allowed to go and think all sorts of things. So you are fully aware of what you are doing and you are engaging yourself, whole being, in doing the activity. So when the sense of agency and the sense of enjoyment are brushed aside, the Karma Yogin's action produces no reaction as far as he is concerned. The dust of aham, I, mama, I and mine, they are being removed. The mind gives an unclouded vision of reality, which is bliss. I don't know whether you are aware of it in our Hindu culture. Whatever activity we do, worship and spiritual activities, we always constantly keep saying, Idan namama, Idan namama, like that. To get rid of the I and mine attitude. That means you have to become egoless, free from ego. That's the way to remove the bad effects of ego. So, Karma Yoga, every yoga has got its own set of disciplines, and you will have to follow them in order to enjoy the bliss of God. Well, we have to approach. We can take any one of these yogas, or you can have 2-3 yogas together also. And there is Bhakti Yoga. That's also used for cleansing of the mind. And in Bhakti Yoga, remarkable steps have been prescribed for the person who would practice the path of devotion. It's called Navadha Bhakti. That is 9 steps. 9 steps of devotion. 9 steps. Every one is important, and every one helps you to rise up, and finally it leads you to the vision of God. And this Navadha Bhakti, this 9-fold devotion, has been formulated by a great devotee, Prahlad, which comes in the Bhagavad. It's very interesting, and how it purifies oneself, it is amazing if you strictly follow all these disciplines prescribed. The first one is Shravan, attentive listening. Attentive listening. That means listening to the glories of God, the literature that presents His excellences. and the message of the Upanishads. All these things, you must keep hearing them. Sri Ramakrishna said all the basic scriptures of our Hindu culture were heard by Sri Ramakrishna. Because those days people would come and chant and they would discuss and Sri Ramakrishna would hear them. And Sri Ramakrishna said, all these things helped me a lot. Because Sri Ramakrishna did not go for school education as we do. Because he did not want to waste time in any manner. He wanted to be practical, 100%, even from the beginning. So he devoted his mind to practices. And when he was boy, he was exposed to these spiritual discourses by many holy people who would come to the home and who would come to the temples, and Sri Ramakrishna would go and hear them. In that process, Sri Ramakrishna understood most of the literature, and finally he would know so thoroughly because his mind was so clean and so pure, and all those ideas stayed there in an excellent way, and Sri Ramakrishna would interpret them very nicely in later days. So, when a person is constantly, attentively listening to the narratives about the Lord, it leads to next step, kirtan, that is fervent chanting of the divine name, which enables one to absorb in God. Kirtan, chanting of name, singing bhajans. What a fine way of engaging oneself. I always tell people, everyone has that musical sense, but you should give attention and develop that faculty. It helps you a lot. It gives tremendous joy when you sing yourself. You can sing with absorption. You can get easily concentration when you are singing. So, Shravan leads to Kirtan, and Kirtan leads to next step, Smaran, that is, constant remember of Him, from whom we receive everything. So, by constantly hearing and singing, you try to remember God's name, God's divine form in your heart. As soon as you close your mind, you feel sometimes remarkable peace. Peace because God stays in your heart. If God is not staying in your heart, you won't feel peacefulness. So, Shravan, Kirtan, Smaran. Then it leads to Pada Sevanam, service, serving God. In whatever way you are willing to do, serving God in humanity. That's what Swami Vivekananda prescribed. The Ramakrishna Mission motto is Atmano Mokshartham Jagadhitaya. In order to realize God, serve the humanity. It's a wonderful concept. It purifies your heart. You feel more concerned about others. You feel the pangs of suffering of others. You feel compassion at heart. All these are very important. Padosya Vishwa Bhutani, all creatures constitute the divine feet of God. serving the humanity without expectation of any reward in any form is the real Padasevana. You are just doing it, you love to do it, love to give, love to do. So your love must be totally projected in that direction. So the devotees try to express their love of the Lord also through archana. That is the next step. Archana means worship. You are directly communicating yourself, sitting in front of God, whatever God you are worshipping. At that point of time, if you sit half an hour, 1 hour for doing worship, that half an hour, 1 hour, you are totally in the presence of God. You must do worship with that feeling. That feeling is very important. I am here, sitting in front of my God. I am doing service to Him. I am talking to Him actually. If you understand the mantras they are in Sanskrit, it is just communication. Oh Lord, I am offering this to you, I am offering this to you, I am doing this, I am doing that, like that. Because in Sanskrit, so you feel probably it is some mystical formula. No doubt it has got mystical formula, but it is trying to establish contact between the devotee and the God. So, worship is done so that you can become very close to God. Then comes Vandanam. That is the sixth step. Vandana means bowing down to God. That's also a part of discipline. Bowing down. You do namaskar, namaskar, namaskar. The meaning is na mama. I told you early, all these are not mine. Everything, whatever I see, whatever I have, everything belongs to God. May not have the arrogance of appropriating what belongs to God. Whatever I happen to possess is only His prasad, His gracious gift. As separate entity, I am nothing and have nothing. But as His child, I am everything and do not lack anything. That's true. The true devotee is humility incarnate. And being humble is the willing servant of the Lord and His votaries. Then comes the seventh step, dasyam, service of the divine, carrying out divine promptings without reservation of any kind, smoothens the devotee's journey through life. As the mind gets more and more purified through these attitudes, then the next step would be sakhya, a friendship, closeness with the divine develops, and the Lord assures us in the Ramayana that whoever approaches God with Maitri Bhava, the attitude of friendship, God protects you completely. The next step is Atmanivedan. That is total surrender. It is not a blind faith or an object slavery, but the unshakable realization that we have no existence apart from Him, and that in Him we are all pervading and all sufficient. Arjuna was Sri Krishna's friend. But then the Lord wanted him to attain the highest by unqualified prapatti. Prapatti means total surrender. So, in the crowning verse of the Gita, Lord Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Give up all your performed ideas of right and wrong, take complete refuge in me, and go beyond all problems that are caused by the dust of egoity on the mind mirror. Well, the other yogas are there, Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Because now the time is up, so I shall stop it here. We shall continue the same topic in the next class. Probably I will be completing it in the next Tuesday class. So what is needed is purity. You have to keep your mind pure. Then everything you will know. All your doubts will go. Your love towards God will increase. You will be able to see God. You will be able to talk to God. And you will enjoy everything that is in the spiritual realm. I will ask you, the devotees listened spellbound to Sri Ramakrishna. His burning words entered their souls, spurring them along the path of renunciation. Page 615. Now Sri Ramakrishna spoke to Ishan in a serious voice. He said, don't forget yourself because of what you hear from your flatterers. Flatterers gather around a worldly man. Vultures gather around the carcass of a cow. Worldly people have no stuff in them. They are like a heap of cow dung. Flatterers come to them and say, you are so charitable and wise. You are so pious. These are not mere words, but pointed bamboos thrust at them. How foolish it is to be surrounded day and night by a bunch of worldly and hear their flattery. Worldly men are slaves of three things. They are slaves of their wives, slaves of their money, slaves of their masters. Can they have any inner stuff? There is a certain person whom I shall not name, Sri Ramakrishna says. He earns 800 rupees a month in those days. But he is the slave of his wife. He stands up or sits down at her bidding. Arbitration and leadership, how trifling these are. Charity and doing good to others, you have had enough of these. Those who are to devote themselves to such things belong to a different class. Now the time is ripe for you to devote your mind to the lotus feet of God. If you realize God, you will get everything else. First God, then charity, doing good to others, doing good to the world, and redeeming people. Why need you worry about these things? Ravan died in Lanka and Behula wept for him bitterly. That's the trouble with you. It will be very good if a world-renouncing sannyasi gives you some spiritual instruction. The advice of the worldly man will not be right. Be he a Brahmin Pandit or anyone else. Be mad. Be mad with love of God. Let people know that Ishan has gone mad and cannot perform worldly duties anymore. Then people will no longer come to you for leadership and arbitration. Throw aside the Kosha Kushi and justify your name of Ishan. Ishan is the epithet of all renouncing Shiva. Ishan quoted, O mother, make me mad with thy love. What need have I of knowledge or reason? Master said, mad, that's the thing. Shivanath once said that one loses one's head by thinking too much of God. What? Said I.
Can anyone ever become unconscious by thinking of consciousness? God is of the nature of eternity, purity and consciousness. Through His consciousness one becomes conscious of everything. Through His intelligence the whole world appears intelligent. Shivanath said that some Europeans had gone insane, that they had lost their heads by thinking too much about God. In their case it may be true, for they think of worldly things. There's a line in a song, divine fervor fills my body and robs me of consciousness. The consciousness referred to here is the consciousness of the outer world. We shall stop here. Now we can ask questions. You were telling something? Yeah. Idan namama, like that they say. No, Namaha is different. Nama is very simple. Idan namama. Idan namama. Not for me, not for me. It's for you, it's for you. Everything is done for you. That's the idea. That's the idea. Any question? Any comments? So, what is needed is purity of mind, that's all. It's very simple. Extremely simple, so extremely difficult. Because it is simple, so it is difficult. That's the beauty of God. Any questions? Any observation or comments? Because the weather was very bad today. So, well, that's all right. We have heard many points today. Meditate upon them. Try to come to the next class if you are free. We shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quenched that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its curve to knowledge of thyself, O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name, that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mind's no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for that day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, and my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, but thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may May all be free from disease. May all realize what is good. May none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bonds. May the freed make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteously rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be freed from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.